I'm Kyle T. Mosley of HBCU Legends, here to talk about the second HBCU Legacy Bowl and what to expect is NFL Network's Steve Wyche. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Looking forward to this Legacy Bowl coming up and creating more and more opportunities for our players from historically black colleges and universities to make it into the NFL.
Definitely. Now, this is your second season. You will be taking on the announcing with Charles Davis. Charles will be the color analyst. How do you feel about the event going into the second year? I know it's going to be more enhanced than the first year, but what are your thoughts?
Well, the one thing that we focus on is opportunities, right? The opportunity during the week of making sure these players get recognized, right? At NFL Network, we're going to have coverage amplifying all of these players all week, just like last year. And that's the key thing. We had more than 30 players at a minimum get tryouts at rookie camps, things like that, right? And then we had some players stick around in practice squads. Deshaun Dixon made the roster for the Jacksonville Jaguars out of Norfolk State last year. So the key is to get more people to that level, but also get more teams to understand where some of this talent is available, and that's at the historically black colleges. And one thing to help really accompany that is this year the HBCU Combine will kick off the week at the Saints facility that Monday. So every team's going to have representatives there looking at more than 50 players participating in the Combine, and then the majority of those players will join other players for the Legacy Bowl. We'll have 100 players on overall, divided on the two teams, Team Gaither and Team Robinson. But again, exposure and information and giving these kids opportunities to display themselves is hugely important in the purpose of the Legacy Bowl.
Very important. You know, Eddie Robinson said all Doug Williams needed was an opportunity, and he got his opportunity. And these young guys want opportunities as well. I know last year you had a chance to sit down and meet each one of these young guys. What were your takeaways just from getting a chance to know who they were as people and young guys who are eager to be able to get into the professional ranks?
Yeah, some of the bigger things that I hope some of these NFL clubs take away is almost all of these guys are graduates or graduating, right? They're not these kids who go to Alabama and Georgia who are coming out after their third year from high school. Most of these guys are 3, 4, 5-year students in college. Some of them are graduate transfers, so they've got an additional year. So that maturity has helped them physically grow. It has helped them mentally grow. And then the HBCU experience, you know, it tends to be very well-rounded as well. So the young men that I spoke to last year, again, some of these guys like aeronautics degrees and engineering degrees, you know, have really set themselves up well one way or another. But again, I think there's a level of maturation that you see with several of these players that you might not see otherwise.
Yeah, that's a good takeaway because I know Mark Evans II, he is one of the two guys that are headed to the NFL Combine, he as well as Isaiah Land. So he is working on his master's at this time, you know, and preparing for the NFL. So you have young guys such as Evans and the other young men that you spoke of are advancing themselves as well as advancing their careers beyond football. Now, let's talk about this, man, before we get off. Last year, 4 of the HBCU players were drafted. You had Carter out of Southern. You had Houston from Jackson State. You had,
Joshua Williams out of Fort Valley.
Joshua Williams and Jacoby Durant, right? And Joshua Williams is playing in the Super Bowl. This season, do you think there's going to be more of just 4 players, or could we have at least 6 or 7 young men, or do you think it's, you know, going to be limited for their abilities to get into the NFL draft?
Probably all of the above. I mean, I do think so. We have 4 players get drafted. You mentioned them. Again, out of the Legacy Bowl, including Deshaun Dixon, more than 3 dozen get camp tryouts. Some guys stuck with practice squads. But I think seeing how Joshua Williams has played, I mean, he had a pick in the AFC Championship game for the Chiefs. Yeah. Jacoby Durant had a fantastic year for the Rams before he got hurt for a while. I mean, they really counted on him a lot in that secondary. So I think, again, that's reopening people's eyes, reopening scouts' eyes to make sure they get on some of these campuses. And there are some players coming out. People you talk to will tell you there's probably between 4 and 8 guys who could get drafted. So we'll see. And we'll see how many of these guys are priority free agent signings. And again, that's what some of the things like the Legacy Bowl and some of these all-star bowl games will show you. And someone like Isaiah Land's an interesting prospect out of Florida A&M, last year's Buck Buchanan Award winner, had a really good Senior Bowl. It was great to see him and Aubrey Miller out of Jackson State playing that game. So regardless of the exposure that they get, exposure is what all of us HBCU graduates, those of us who are trying to see HBCU players in the NFL, are hoping to give these young men.
Definitely. All right, guys, you can find out more about the game as well as the events surrounding the game. Go to hbculegacybowl.com to get your tickets. Just click on tickets and purchase yours right there. Steve, thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Kyle, always.
All right. Thank you, my friend.